Well, you know, 1992 is coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's 500 years after Columbus.
That's true.
And I think that the discovery of America still lies before us, that so far we've only colonized it,
Mm-hmm.
and that the colonizing mind is an inherently exploitative mind. We've not only, as Wendell Berry said, when we came across this continent, cutting the forests and plowing the prairies, we've never known what we were doing because we've never known what we were undoing. He said somewhere else in The Unsettling of America, I think, that we came with vision, but not with sight. We came with visions of former places, but not the sight to see where we are. And it took New England, well, it took New England 200 years to produce a Thoreau that would see New England for what it was, rather than through the eyes of the European. It took Kentucky 200 years to produce a Wendell Berry. And what I would hope that by the year 2090, when I hope some of my descendants are still around, is that they will have been the true discoverers of America. People who know where they are. We're still not native to this place yet. I would hope that we could announce in 1992 the beginning of the age of discovery of America, and that part of that's going to mean welcoming back the animals. When I was a kid in Kansas growing up, there were no deer around, and now I can take a deer every year. I could shoot a deer on our property every year, have a couple of times. 10 years ago, there were no wild turkeys. Now there are 20 of them roosting in my woods at the south part of the property. Gary Snyder, the poet, talked about welcoming back the wild animals. There's now discussion about a Buffalo Commons out on the high plains where the paupers at Rutgers University, they're saying that as the people fail at farming, they move out, the government ought to buy the land and turn that into a Buffalo Commons. Well, I don't want to see the people have to leave, I think. But what this begins to suggest is, and a lot of the people in my area, of course, oppose what the paupers have to say. Mm-hmm. Our local congressman, Pat Roberts, said bad things about, you know, these eastern peoples making this kind of a proposal. But what I think it does is enliven the imagination about our possibilities. And it could be that this is our last best chance to discover America before it's too late. And what I hope is that if we can keep enough of the wildness around, that discovery can continue. Now, there's a problem. One is that, you know, in Catholicism, there's the saint. You go pray to the saint, you light a candle, you've got this sort of isolation of virtue there in that saint. Then people go in peace, and they think, well, that's covered. In a certain sense, what we environmentalists have done is designate wilderness as a saint.
Out there.
Out there, yeah, the isolation of virtue again, and then we spread atrazine all over the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Now, either the whole thing is holy or it isn't. Mm-hmm. And that we need to, in our welcoming of the animals back, in our preservation of wilderness, in our preservation of wildness, it will be important. Probably the population will be very high in 2090. It'll be very important to remember that wilderness is an artifact of civilization. Now, it used to not be that. And it will be important to see it as our source that gave rise to us, that we are now the protector of our own source. It'll be important to have discovered that and to engage in the continuing discovery of the way the earth worked before the agricultural revolution, before the industrial revolution, before the high energy epoch, and to acknowledge that there is nothing higher than to live out our lives on this beautiful planet alone,